Hi, I'm Destiny from Nifty Knittings, and today I'm going to show you how to knit the Cable Twist Headband. The Cable Twist Headband features a wide rib with an intricate cable right in the center. It is knit flat and then seamed together at the end. For this project, I'll be using Red Heart and Italian Story Vera, which is a bulky Category 5 yarn that is 70% wool and 30% alpaca in the color Rose. I'll be using US 10 6mm knitting needles. You can use straight or circular. We will begin by casting on 21 stitches using the long tail cast on method. I like to wrap my yarn around my needle about 10 times, which is roughly how long of a tail I would need for 10 stitches. If I hold this double, this is roughly how long of a tail I will need for 20 stitches. And we'll just pull out a little bit more, and I'll put my slip knot right here. Place my slip knot on my needle and tighten it up. And we're just going to cast on 21 stitches. I have my 21 stitches casted on, and we are going to begin with row 1, which is a wrong side row. I'm going to slip the first stitch purlwise and purl 2. And then knit the next 3 stitches. And then purl 3. And we'll just keep repeating knit 3, purl 3 until we get to the end of the row. There we go. And row 2 is a right side row. I'm going to slip this first stitch knitwise onto my right needle, knit 2, purl 3, knit 3, and keep repeating purl 3, knit 3 to the end of the row. Basically, we'll just be knitting the knits and purling the purls. And we'll continue repeating these 2 rows until our headband is about 10 inches long. You can see our wide rib starting to form, and now I am on to my next wrong side row. I finished 10 inches of my headband, and now I'm ready to add the cables. We will be crossing these 2 middle knit columns over each other, and I'll show you how to do that. You will need 2 cable needles for this section. So I'm going to start my row as normal, slip the first stitch knitwise, and knit 2, purl 3, and then I'm just going to slip these next 3 stitches onto a cable needle and hold it to the front of my work. So just slipping this column of 3 knit stitches and hold this to the front. Then I'm going to slip the next 3 purl stitches and hold these to the back. So the knit stitches will go to the front and the purl stitches will go to the back. Then I'm just going to knit the next 3 stitches on my left needle as normal. And then we're going to work the purl stitches. So I'm just going to transfer those back to my left needle. And we're going to purl these 3 stitches. There we go. And then we are going to knit the 3 stitches from the front cable needle. I'm just going to transfer these back to my left needle. And knit 3. And then continue the rest of our row in our rib pattern. We have a nice left front cross cable. Now I'm just going to purl 3 and knit 3. There we go. Our wrong side rows will all be the same as row 1. Slip the first stitch purlwise, purl 2, knit 3, purl 3, and repeat. For the second cable row, we'll be crossing the first 2 columns of knit stitches and the last 2. So we'll be working 2 9-stitch cables in this row. So I'm going to slip the first 3 stitches to my cable needle and hold it in the front. We'll work these just like the last cable. Slip the next 3 purl stitches to my cable needle and hold it in the back. And then making sure your working yarn is going behind the front cable needle but in front of the back cable needle. We are going to knit the 3 stitches on the left needle. And then purl the 3 stitches from the back cable needle. And then making sure your work isn't twisted here. Our front cable needle, slip these stitches back to the left needle. And knit 3. And then purl 3. Then we're going to work 1 more cable. So again, hold the next 3 stitches on the cable needle to the front. Hold the next 3 purl stitches on the cable needle to the back. Knit 3. purl 3, and knit 3. There we go. I'll work another wrong side row, and then we'll have one more cable row. For our last cable row, we'll just be crossing the middle 2 sections of knit columns again, just like we did for the first cable row. So slip the first stitch knitwise, knit 2, purl 3, and slip the next 3 stitches to the cable needle and hold them in the front. Slip the next 3 stitches to the cable needle and hold them in the back. Knit 3, purl these 3 stitches from the back cable needle, and then knit these 3 stitches from the front cable needle. And that's it. We'll continue this row by purling 3, and knitting 3. And we'll continue for another 10 inches, continuing in our ribbed pattern. So on the wrong side row, we'll slip the first stitch purlwise, purl 2, knit 3, purl 3, and repeat. I have finished another 10 inches of my headband, and we are ready to bind off and seam this together. So I ended after a wrong side row, so my right side is currently facing me, and we're going to bind off these stitches. We're going to bind off in pattern, so I'm going to knit 2 and pass the first stitch over the second, knit 1 more, pass the first stitch over. My next 3 stitches are purl stitches, so I'm going to purl 1, pass over, purl, And my next 3 stitches are knit, so I'm going to knit 1, pass the first stitch over, and just keep continuing until I have 1 stitch left. I have 1 stitch left here. I'm just going to leave a really long tail. Cut my yarn and bring that tail through this last stitch. And we'll be using this long tail to seam the 2 ends together. So my tail is currently at the top right of my headband here. And we want these knit columns to line up. I'm going to thread my yarn onto my tapestry needle. And since my yarn is already coming from the top, I'm going to start with the bottom. And each stitch makes a little V. We're going to be going right into the center of the V at the corner, if you can see that. So I'm just going to bring my yarn needle right through that V. We'll basically be creating a row of knit stitches with this seam. And then going back to the top bind off edge, we're going to bring our tapestry needle under both legs of the V right at the edge there and pull that through. For the bottom, we'll basically be going under both legs of an upside down V. So this stitch right here kind of looks like an N instead of a V on the bottom. So under both legs, pull that yarn through, not too tight, but nice and snug. We want it to be even with the rest of our tension. And then going back to the top, we'll go under both legs of a V again. And the bottom, both legs of the N, or upside down V. And this is just forming a nice little row of knit stitches. When we get to the purl section, they're a little harder to see, but the V's are still there. Just have to look closely for them. And you can see this is blending in nicely with our knit column. And under both legs down here. Both legs of the V up here. We'll just keep continuing until the headband is seamed together. I finished seaming, and my knit columns are lined up nicely, and I'm just going to weave in this last end here. I just like to follow the path of the yarn down, around, and back up, and just keep repeating this for a few stitches. There we go. And just trim this end. And that's it. And now I'm going to block this. I would recommend wet blocking, so just soaking in a little bit of cool water with some wool wash, which will really help to open up the ribbing and give it a nice shape, and it'll soften it quite a bit. Thanks so much for watching. For more patterns and tutorials, please visit niftyknittings.com.